Sharri Markson of Sky News Australia, the video you all watched and came here to get a confirmation or debunking for, bodies dumped outside of the Wuhan lab versus Donald Trump saying that he heard a rumor that body bags were outside of the lab. Sky News Australia said that Trump said to Sharri Markson, who was interviewing her, bodies dumped outside of Wuhan lab. Even people who are in favor of Sky News are angry with them for lying, because they lied. Well, I started hearing stories that you have also that there were lots of body bags outside of the lab. And if they did in fact have body bags, that was one little indication, wasn't it? And he's asking that of the interviewer who just heard this for the first time. Now, we don't know when the interview was done, but it's strongly indicated by Sky News this was very recent, and he said this off-the-cuff statement. He said he started hearing stories about something. That means he was reading rumors off the internet. Now, any of you out there that isn't a diehard, foaming at the mouth Trump head and a QAnon believer that believes that somehow anything stated overtly must be ignored and reinterpreted through 4D chess bullshit filters, you understand that he's literally saying he saw this on the internet. It's a rumor. I started hearing stories. Now, that's not a code word necessarily with him, but it's a strong indication that at first he heard stories that there were body bags outside of the lab. And then he also said, as a conclusion, if they did in fact have body bags, that was one little indication, wasn't it? Now, what this says to me is, he just said, dead ass, if they did in fact have body bags. He's not saying they did. He's bringing this up because he heard a rumor. Now, I guarantee you his massive mistrust for his own administration, firing people repeatedly, by the way, just firing shit, everybody, means that he asked someone, I heard a rumor that there were body bags outside of the Wuhan lab. And then someone told him later on, when they got around to it, we have no reports of this, and it probably didn't happen because they have no reason to do that, because if you're not aware of this, at a lab that does nothing but communicable diseases, if someone dies in or around the place, you put them in a body bag that keeps it from spreading, and you spray it with crap to keep it from spreading, and you don't leave them outside to rot. And that sounds like a meme from a movie. You know how infomercials are where people suddenly can't pour milk into a cup because that's supposed to prove that they're not just knuckleheads and we should empathize with them, which no one can. It's an infomercial. In every dramatic movie or TV series, we see someone who is either a novice put in a position they don't belong in, or somebody who's a dead-ass expert, like a heart surgeon, who suddenly can't figure out how to do a resuscitation compression like you and I are taught in first aid. For some fucking reason, the panic kicks in. And we also see, dramatically, that people tell them, no, there's no such thing as panic. You've trained for this your entire life. How the fuck are you going to be excused for letting someone die because you didn't know how to do heart compressions all of a sudden? Damn it, Jim. So no, that's not what fucking happened. Someone probably spread this as a rumor on the net, or, even better, do body bags look the same in every country? I'm sure you're going to assume all sorts of things and type them below. I'm not assuming. I don't know the answer. Someone saw something that looked like body bags outside of Wuhan lab. Okay, when? Well, we don't care about that. Trump said something. Trump has said things that turned out to be completely not true. Not his fault. He was just repeating something he saw on the net, just like the rest of you do, and I do. But suddenly this has to be true because Sky News Australia needs to keep bringing up and opening that old, very sealed up bullshit rumor wound that the Wuhan lab intentionally released a virus to kill Christians because fun vax, or some other bullshit that you've been told on Facebook or on YouTube. You have to believe it because that way you feel like you're doing something. You're an activist. We're fighting the power. You know, like BLM protests and Antifa. You can easily go through and find out a lot of things that they cheered about turned out to be completely false. A lot of you watching who are true believers in QAnon and Trump can easily do that. You can rattle it off. Well, people who fact-check Trump found out that he doesn't actually fact-check things because when he's posting something on Twitter, he's requesting a fact check. But if you're insulting to him, he's going to assume he's going to have to double down against you. Even if he's learning the answer and the truth, he won't repeat it later because he won't give you the satisfaction because you're doing neeners on Twitter. He's not new to this. And some of you do this. Someone answers your question and acts all snobby about it. You don't let them get the credit for it. You wait for someone else to come along. He was asking on the internet several things, but people had to push his buttons, so he doubled down, and we ended up with a president saying things that are completely not true. But let's talk about this. Stories of body bags outside of a building somewhere in China. China keeps you from being able to see most of its surface area from Google Street View and make sure that the maps don't line up. They go out of their way to make this as big of a pain in the ass as possible, and they deserve all the shit they can get for it. And yes, China is underreporting or just fucking lying about the number of people who've gotten sick and died in China. And yes, I'm very much aware of the fact, so far, I've been tracking back rumors only, that there were infections from COVID-19 in October of 2019, not the date we were told about by the Chinese government, because they lie about stuff. There's even an indication something that's not the same disease but very closely related, or at least somewhat related, happening in 2013. And they thought it was SARS-1 because they were scared of SARS-1 because it was a big problem. Look, Donald Trump did not say that he has absolute confirmation of bodies being outside of the Wuhan lab. He heard a rumor. And he also says, if they did in fact have this happen, which means he wasn't able to confirm it did happen. Now, what's most likely happened here is he was told either they couldn't find out where the idea came from. Trump probably forgot where he heard it. He saw it on the internet someplace, and it only kind of clicked later, hey, maybe I should look into this. He probably asked his staff about this about one point or another, and that's fine. But he didn't get an answer that it did happen. Now, in China, I want to point out something else. In China, if they do not know what causes something, there's a rule they make, mostly because they punish you for making mistakes, that if you don't know what caused something, you report the facts as is and let someone else take the fall if they want to extrapolate it. But if you don't know what caused something, don't make an assumption and move on. At the Wuhan lab, again, a place where people are trained to know what they're doing, they're going to take a body, put it in a body bag, and put it outside for people to see. Or they're going to load it into a truck. Does anybody remember any videos and photos of people put in body bags because COVID-19 had attacked your country and being hauled away? Yes, we know about that. Could Trump be remembering this wrong? Were there any videos of body bags being used in China in early reports, either done by Chinese government television or other? Did I, in fact, previously on a channel that was get deleted, do a debunking of one of those videos because someone said it was in Los Angeles when it was actually China? No, I don't know. I don't know if I did that. It doesn't matter, does it? Donald Trump did not say that bodies were found outside of the lab. Donald Trump is saying, without saying it completely, that he heard a rumor on the net or he read it somewhere, but he can't remember where it is because he's being vague. And he's saying, without wanting to say it completely, that it wasn't able to be confirmed. So here we go. Donald Trump, in an interview that Sky News Australia made into Donald Trump said there were bodies outside the Wuhan lab, what he really said is he heard some rumors, wasn't able to confirm it, and if they were true, which he doesn't know, that would be a strong indication of something, wouldn't it? And at that point, he's asking the interviewer for confirmation, meaning he doesn't know, and he's asking someone who's never heard this before. Sharri Markson was interviewing him. The Trump and Sharri Markson interview eventually will be available because Sky News is using it to pump up the conspiracy theory bullshit because they exploit you for it. And I don't know if they did any attempt to double check this. When did you hear this rumor? What happened that day so we can figure out, because he's going to remember something that happened that same day. What happened that day that sticks in your mind? Oh, such and such happened. Oh, okay, then we know what day this was. Did you talk to your advisors? Was there an actual interview here where they asked him, well, what did you do about this rumor you heard? Or did you see it off the internet someplace? Do you remember? Because we'd like to track it down. When I've interviewed people who are potentially hostile or I would say psychotic, because I'm accusing Trump of being psychotic, you soft pedal them to get information because you want them to tell you, where did you see this? Because this may be fucking important. Is Sky News Australia concentrating on that? No. They're promoting the let's hate on China, because China deserves it, honestly. and not really giving a shit about what Trump said. This would be a valid piece of information if it was date and time stamped. Well, it must have been, and then everyone's going to read into it like you're all cold reading victims. Some of you are QAnon believers, and the original QAnon postings were done by, apparently, the people who ran 8chan, and it's not anybody in the U.S. government, and it's not somebody with Q clearance, never was, and yes, everybody with Q clearance has been checked, and none of them did it, nor a former entity with it. And, yeah, we know who Q is. The Q Patriot. It's just two guys who were just trying to make their board famous. And they posted bullshit quatrain stuff, so you'd read something into it with, poetry bullshit, and see what people respond to, and then they would just feed you back what you wanted to respond to so they could get more interaction, so the website would get more views. That's what it is. Come on. Sky News Australia is exploiting the people who watch their channels or or look up their stuff because they put up a complete bomb of a statement. Bodies were dumped outside the Wuhan lab. Trump said so. And then Trump did not say anything even partially like that. He doesn't even know if it was true. He's repeating something he heard. It's a rumor. And Sky News Australia isn't guilty of yellow journalism and just being crazy. If this was such a major revelation, why wouldn't they put up the entire interview and point to, this is the part of the video where he says the bodies were found outside the Wuhan lab in a short bite, and here's the complete recording. Here's the complete interview with Sharri Markson. Because if you watch the complete interview, it would prove that that's not fucking what he said. We don't even get to hear her ask him any more questions. And again, this is a soundbite because you have to go look at the documentary. And yeah, people who said that they were able to view or got a sneak peek at any of this said he didn't say this at all. And that has nothing to do with this. But hey, I guess, maybe you can get streaming or something. I'm sure they're not profiteering off of it. Hell, most of you won't even give a damn about it later. Hell, you won't even, after you get all your financial inducements for HARP 2 and HARP 3, you won't even care what happened to HARP 1, Ramo. Remember any of this shit? Our pop culture system in the United States and internationally has taught us to understand how these games are played. And you assume somehow mainstream media at Sky News Australia isn't going to do exactly what you've been rumor milled into believing happens at Fox or CNN or any other group you think is bullshit. Sky News Australia lied about what Trump said. We're not being given just the interview so we can evaluate it correctly. The information presented fucks itself on its face because why would the lab throw the bodies out front? Why would they feel compelled to? And then, of course, the comment section. Oh, the gold in the comment section. Oh, they were doing experiments on humans. That's why they would throw known infected bodies outside for animals to come in contact when they're studying zootonic viruses, diseases that transfer from animals to humans and back, specifically bats. Right? That's what you've been told? So leaving it out where wild animals could act as extra vectors and transfer a disease that's killing people because they're experimenting to create something to wipe out the entire planet because somehow Chinese people aren't going to be vulnerable. It really doesn't help that the Chinese government tried to make it look like nobody died in their country when they're lying badly. And yes, I believe that the virus originally started infecting people in like October of 2019. They're lying. But that doesn't change anything about this. Fox News, Sky News, they're all the same bucket of bullshit in my opinion. But specifically Sky News Australia literally lied about what Donald Trump said because they wanted you to look at the video and they don't want you to see the interview because the interview between Trump and Sharri Markson isn't really all that interesting because they need to exploit you. You are not being sold a service. You're being milked as service. You're the product. He said he heard a rumor, wasn't able to confirm it, and that's it. But if it was true, it would be interesting or an indication. And again, the body bags are referred to are him saying someone else said it, and for all we know, it wasn't really body bags. It could have been somebody making a mistake. That's it. You can all believe what you want. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And no, Trump didn't say that. Deal with it.